Okay, welcome back to another episode of Chatting Cinema. I'm Gianni.
I'm Flynn.
And I'm Luke.
And this is a little different. We're going to try this out. It's going to be a debate-style episode. So one of us is the moderator. That'll be me today. And we'll come up with a topic that the other two are going into blind. They will obviously answer to the topic, and we'll just see how it goes. I think it'll turn into a bit of a discussion between the three of us as well. And we'll just take it from there. Are we picking a winner?
I mean, I feel like we should, just for viewers' sake of just like, there is that.
Viewers can pick the winner.
Right.
Oh, yeah, true.
We'll send it out with a poll.
Yes. And, you know, like, I was thinking, it's like sometimes our chatting gets a little dicey, so.
Cinematic.
Yeah.
All right. So without further ado, I'll pose the question to you two. And that is, I'll tee it up.
Okay.
Are you,
the
you
highest
do the
paid-
timer?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Hang on.
We're being official with this.
We're going to do a timer here.
So
but
we keep these a little bit streamlined, but because I mean, we could think of our answers for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Also, so far, he's just said highest, but I'm just like, all right, now what?
Yeah.
I'm going to do a stopwatch.
Okay.
Solid.
That way we don't have a beep.
Yes.
Good call.
So I'll tee it up. All right. The highest paid actor in Hollywood today is Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. What is his best movie?
Fast Five.
Okay. Flynn, you can start it off since you know. Fast Five?
Yeah. Fast Five to me. Look, Dwayne Johnson is this guy that he kind of gets ragged on for playing the same character in every movie. He's always wearing like an off-white T-shirt. He's always the tough guy kind of. But Fast Five is really interesting to me because people kind of credit him with reviving a franchise. And Fast Five is the first movie in the Fast and the Furious franchise that critics agree is good. It kind of leans into its own thing. And I'm not saying that is solely because of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. But Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's character in that, I think, provides a foil to Vin Diesel's Dominic Toretto that the series was kind of missing up to that point, that the series has now kind of leaned into too hard, in my opinion, at that point. But with The Rock being this, sort of gigantic officer as they're zooming throughout Brazil, I think adds an interesting level of tension to that movie. Their fights are great. Their face-offs are great. He's not like just brawn. He's kind of figuring things out and figuring out overall plots, and also how Toretto and the sort of Fast family work into them. He drives this Hummer that's kind of like the first time they used a tank in that franchise. It's not exactly a tank, but I think it's a fantastic movie, and I think that The Rock could shine more in these types of movies, whereas when he's the leading man, he's kind of shoehorned into this one specific thing. But I think that as a supporting actor, he kind of helps elevate that movie, and I think it's the best one he's starred in so far.
Nice.
So I have a completely different take on The Rock. So my movie is the newest Jumanji movie. So the way I see it is that up until this point, in just about every movie, he's just been The Rock saying somebody else's words. Not that I don't love it. I see them all. But in the new Jumanji movie, The Rock has to pretend to be Alex Wolff, who is a small, shy, awkward teenager, and Danny DeVito, who is an old man, and like he has to do voices, he has to do mannerisms. So for this shows his range the best out of any movie, because not only does he play The Rock, but he plays those two other people along with a star-studded cast around him doing the same exact thing, and he plays off of everybody very well. Like, we all know he has chemistry with Kevin Hart, but in this movie, him and Kevin Hart's chemistry shows through in them playing other people at the same exact time. So I think as an actor, this movie really shows that he can act, and he's not just looks, he's not just stunts, because he does the stunts, he does his looks, but he also really puts on an interesting performance, playing complete different personality characters, because he's playing a video game character, but he's being possessed by other people. So to me, that, like, if you told me The Rock was going to be doing that, I wouldn't it's not convincing. But then here he is actually convincing me that he's completely somebody else. Like, and it's as simple as like his voices and his mannerisms. Like, he was complaining about his back, and like you could see, after he'd do a stunt, even though he probably didn't hurt, Danny DeVito's character in real life just got a hip replacement surgery, and like he's like showing that he's not used to it. So like his mannerisms and the little things he does in that movie, I feel like shows that he's an actor. Like, he's not just The Rock. Like, because I mean, realistically, my answer is his time at the World Wrestling Federation. But this movie, I think, since then is like the first time he's doing something really different for him.
Sure. Yeah. So Flynn, do you think in Fast 5 The Rock is at all outside of his comfort zone?
I don't know if outside of his comfort zone is the right way to put it. I just think that is the peak of what he is best at in Fast 5, and I think that it's the best overall movie that he's in. Not to get into a semantics argument here, but that was the first movie that came to mind as a good movie that The Rock is in, and like I was saying, the way that I'm viewing The Rock's performance in this movie as supplementary is something that shines through. So outside of his comfort zone, it's hard to say that. I don't think so. I think that it's very much within his wheelhouse. I just think it's the peak of it, while also still being, Hobbs is still a character. Yeah. Like, I feel like more modern Rock has gotten to the point where he is just the oiled up macho man, whatever. But I do think that Luke Hobbs is his own character with his own motivations.
Sure.
And I think that shines through.
Sure. So I know both of you have seen Fast 5. Flynn, I don't think you've seen Jumanji: The Next Level, right?
I have not seen the sequel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then I'll go back to the original question, which was, what is the best Dwayne Johnson movie? So do you want to both kind of argue the merits of your films?
Sure. I think that Fast 5 is sort of the peak of the Fast and Furious franchise as far as over-the-top action, while still not being incredibly leaning into understanding, sort of how everybody views this over-the-top thing. I think that everybody in the cast is at their best. I think that you can kind of see where the value of this movie has been because it revived the franchise. So I think that is definitely a point in its favor. I think it's the best plotted. I think that cinematographically, the way they shoot Brazil is the most fascinating. I think that's my favorite location that they've gone to, aside from Tokyo. My favorite sort of location, and finding a way to make that seem different and stand out in that movie. My favorite car lineup in that movie. Yeah, and so I think that, just to look at the fact that this was a franchise that had 4 movies before that, and Fast 5 is the one that sort of propelled it into genuine pop culture conversation, I think speaks to kind of the staying power that it's had as just a really solid action movie.
Sure.
So this was a sequel to a movie that nobody expected to be good. The first one came out of nowhere. Nobody really thought it was going to be much. They were just like, it's The Rock in a Jumanji movie. Like, what? But so it had the task of following up an unexpectedly good movie. And it's been in theaters for like 4 months because of how much money it's making, because it appeals to so many different people, where kids love it, parents love it, like teenagers, our age people love it, because it's really a story that's made for everybody, where it's not shying away from things so kids can see it, because there's still scary moments, but then it's also smart enough and entertaining enough for all audiences. And I think, have you seen the sequel?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think that not only do they build on everything that they did really well in the first one, the personality changes, the additional characters, I think that they got smarter. Like, the writers figured out better ways to do what they did in the first one, because I think I liked the second one more than the first. And also, the story, I think, was better, too, where it was more the kids' stories, like the kids that you see in the beginning going into the game, their story was more important this time around. Where last time it was, let's get the hell out of this game.
Yeah.
Whereas this time there was reasons why they were in the game and reasons why they needed to get out, as opposed to let's just get out. So I think that it took everything the first one did, built on that momentum, and honestly, it's like kind of the start of a new franchise in a way. That this movie, the fact that it was good, is why we're going to get more. Not that it just didn't save it, because Fast 5 did save that franchise. But I think that because of this, maybe as a thorough video game movie, maybe other ones like it, who knows? But I think that also The Rock's leading man, like, powers kicked in and, like, made this franchise, like, people wanted to watch it.
Yeah.
But then he also showed them that he could do more in it than what he usually does.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you both make really great points. If I have to come down and pick a winner here, I am really kind of split down the middle, because if we're going to say the best Dwayne Johnson movie, I do think it goes to Fast 5. Not only because you just said that, like, Fast 5 saved that franchise, I think The Rock saved that franchise when he came into Fast 5. However, I do think the best Dwayne Johnson performance is in the Jumanji films, when he does have to kind of play outside of what he knows. And he's kind of playing this, like, geeky teen.
It's so funny when he does
so
it.
well. It's crazy, because you think, like, you're watching and you're like, do I believe this? And then you do. And in the sequel, when he has to kind of play an old man, it's kind of wild. So I think best performance is going to be Jumanji: The Next Level. I think best film is going to be Fast 5. And that's where I come down on the Dwayne Johnson debate.
Listen, when I didn't get Fast 5, I knew I wasn't going to win. So I just went for some other end, because it is the best movie he's done.
I will say, Luke Hobbs versus Dominic Toretto became a real-life, genuine beef between Vin Diesel and Dwayne Johnson. So I think that speaks to the authenticity of that performance.
And you had to pick it when he was named the same name as me. I was so excited when his character was named Luke. I was like, oh my God, me and The Rock, we have a connection. But yeah, I mean, shout out The Rock. Like, you're lit.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up our first Chatting Cinema debate. That was fun. Thanks for watching, and thanks for listening. I'm Gianni.
I'm Flynn.
And I'm Luke.
We'll see you next time.
I'm not The Rock.